Hello there, everybody. This is Alex from Hardcoin Guides, being my guide for Dante's Inferno on Infernal difficulty. Today we are doing part 10, entitled Fraud. This one should be the second to last level, because Treachery will be the next one. And this is the first introduction of these new enemy types. And we only see them, I think, maybe one more time. These guys are just the worst. They're just complete assholes because they're incredibly tanky, and I pretty much have to rely on cross attacks at this point just because of the fact that you know, they're just covered in fire like all the time. Now I think you can use scythe attacks on them as long as you see their body inside the fire, but for the most part I just stick with cross attacks just to make sure that they just get knocked out of it. They're just incredibly tanky, incredibly annoying, but they do, for the most part, the same attacks that a Throne Demon does. However, I don't think they have a they don't have a shield, so they can't like do anything about it. In terms of other attacks, of course they have, like, you know, their throwable attack that can be, you know, parried if you've got that upgrade, and then, you know, of course, parry in general, I should say. And I think they might have a fireball attack. Oh, they also have that too, that charging move. Oh, they might actually have a shield. I think it's only during their fire. So yeah, whenever they're basically, you know, fired up is when they're gonna go for those attacks, but it looks like they can still activate it even without fire on, so I don't know, they're very confusing, but you don't really see them a lot. So my best advice is just treat them like you would a Throne Demon and just use cross attacks, stay away, especially with, you know, the fact of them having fire. Use divine armor if you want to make it just a tad bit easier, and then, because, you know, you got magic back here that you can grab too, so if you have full magic and full health or whatever at this point, then that's something to kind of keep in mind. So let me check some things real quick. Yeah, Fraud. This one is just a bit lengthy, a little bit lengthy. I think it's about relatively about the same size as the last one, about 30 minutes plus. And I had to do a lot of cutting, and I'm going to be doing a lot of cutting just to, you know, to minimize the amount of time that you go through these. And then something else about Fraud too is, since it's mostly based on arenas and challenge arenas, when you're going from one arena to another, they're going to typically have, I guess you could say, them puzzle platform areas. So that's interesting, and I felt like just keeping some of them in, just in case anybody might be struggling with specific ones. There's like one I can think of that I think would probably give people a hard time, and that's the one we have to slide down the wall while the thing's coming after you. And I mean, on paper it doesn't sound too bad, but, you know, it can be a killer. Alright, so the first, I'm trying to think what the first challenge is. Something else I want to explain about the challenges before we get into them, just in case anybody doesn't know, is that there is a bonus thing you can get with them, and you get orbs from doing the bonus. The first wave, you get infinite magic, and you have to beat it under 75 seconds. And if you do that, you get, of course, the bonus orbs with it. You still get orbs regardless, but if you want those bonuses, then that's something to kind of go for if you wanted to. And in the very beginning of this, even though the title clearly is staying on the screen the entire time, my dumbass didn't realize that it said infinite magic, and I thought it said no magic, because I remember one of them being no magic. So I kind of thought, oh, okay, so we're starting off with no magic. All right, that makes it easier on me just to kind of get that one out of the way. Little did I know that I was wrong, so that's why it took me about 45. That's why it took me so long to do this, but then I eventually realized, and now I'm just going to use every magic that I have in the book. Now, something to keep in mind, the Sins of the Father, the cross attack that I used, will waste your divine armor. Not like it matters, you have infinite magic, so if you had divine armor, whip it the hell out, and then use the, I would suggest using the L2 triangle magic, or the L1 triangle magic, the one that's like on the top there. Lust Storm does the same thing too that Sins of the Father does, and I think the mother magic we might have gotten, the apple one, or whatever the hell it is, the seed I think it is, where you throw it on the ground and it makes enemies do things that I can't remember exactly what they do, because how'd they ever do it? I think it's supposed to do like damage to them and make them, you know, off themselves, so to speak, but It never seems like that's a clear thing that they're doing, though. Unless I'm just blind and don't really know. But other than that, yeah, infinite magic is just as simple as that. Just use everything in your book. Don't worry about what they've got and what they don't got. As long as you have divine armor by this point, which, by the way, if you don't have divine armor by this point, that final boss is going to eat your ass. So, just fair warning that this is a point in time where there's no going back. So if you've made it this far in the video, you're pretty much going to have to, you might have to start over. Unless you have complete confidence in your skills. This is one of those times where you should probably have most of what you need upgraded by now and all your relics by now. If you don't happen to have your relics upgraded by now, the ones that you want to have on, which at this point I have the shield relic, I have, you know, the one we got from Francesco, whatever, the buddy guy we fought in Violence, you get from him. I have the scythe and I have the cross attack relics on, and then I also have Chiako's Bile, which allows me to get mana regeneration, and I think I have that one level 3. So those are the 4 that you need. And this is of course no DLC. So you don't need DLC to do this. You don't even need the extra 10,000 soul DLC. It's pointless. It truly is. And if anybody tells you otherwise and says, oh no, the only way to beat the final boss, the only way to beat this game is you have to have DLC, that's malarkey. That's not true at all. That's not true. So don't let them trick you into buying DLC. But even at this point, I don't think you even can. At least you can on PlayStation. I think I checked the Microsoft Store and it looked like you could still buy the DLC, at least the St. Lucia stuff. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah. But if you do want to have, of course, like I said earlier, if you want to have your relics that you want on now, if you're not using mine, of course, and you want to get them upgraded fast, I would recommend having them equipped and having all the relic slots upgraded and beating the challenges and maybe even try to go for those bonuses. Now, some of those bonuses are so damn hard to get that I would recommend, if you're going to go for all the bonus challenges, do this in like a redemption run, or whatever it's called. Is it called Resurrection? I think so. I think it's called Resurrection. Basically, it's the thing where you do New Game Plus. Also, for this challenge, equip the combo relic, the one that allows you to not lose a combo, because getting a combo to stay in this game is surprisingly harder than I actually initially thought. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind too while doing this part. That way you could be on the safe side. Just fair warning. I'd say switch out whatever relic you want to switch out, but yeah, make sure you got that combo relic equipped. If you don't, that's fine. Use cross attacks and just keep your distance. And just try your best to stay as far away from getting hit as you possibly can. Because if you get hit, you're going to lose that combo. It's not that getting hit makes you drop the combo. It's just the amount of time that you're on the ground getting hit will drop it. So this one's air kills. This one's relatively simple enough. I would suggest just going for the captains here. I'd recommend just going for them instead. Break their shields. Go for the vertical launch attack. And then after that, just swipe in the air. And then equip the Scythe relic on. Because at this point, you should have it. It's like one of the first relics you get. It's the one I think you get from the first Virgil you meet. I wouldn't worry about the Guardian too much, but if you can get 2 of them at once, yeah, then go for it. Something else too, and I want to talk about this real quick. I'm sure there's people that might know more about Dante than I might. I looked it up, and I'm still not 100% certain, but I was at a point where I was doing this challenge, or fraud in general, and everything seemed to be a little easy. As in, like, the enemies were way easier than what they were before. And it scared me, because I had thought that my game had broke. I had thought that the game, just for some reason, changed me off of Infernal difficulty and said, no, you're now dropped down to, like, normal mode now, or easy mode, or whatever. And that scared me, and the reason why I thought that it was happening was because the enemies don't do as much damage, and they just don't take as much damage. Now, from what I have seen, from another channel that I watch, is that there's the potential that happens no matter what. I think that's not a thing that I accidentally did. I think that's just a thing the game did. Even if the game somehow glitched and maybe not on Infernal mode, at this point, it's just too late. Not like it really matters because I'm going to be doing the same things I would do on those modes anyway as I would on Infernal, so it doesn't matter as much. But I will say, if that's the case, I highly, highly apologize for letting anybody down. But as far as I'm aware, it's on Infernal mode, and I did multiple checks to make sure. I kept saving the game like every opportunity to make sure that it was still good. But I don't know. From like I said, I feel like with this game, from what it seems like it's very possible that they made them easier, probably for the challenges to maybe hopefully get you to the bonuses. So I'm going to do some investigating on that one just to make sure. But yeah, it's so weird because like you've been playing through Infernal mode the entire time, and you're so used to how enemies react and how they die or how fast they die and all that other fun stuff. But then you get to Fraud, and then all of a sudden it's just a complete change. Now they're just easier to get through. It's bizarre. But I can confirm, however, the final boss is incredibly difficult. So, which is funny because when you play on Hellish, nothing. It's not that bad. Yeah, Hellish is not that bad in comparison to Infernal. Infernal was a hell of a leap. I'm not even joking. So, at least in terms of final boss, it's a hell of a leap. Now, this challenge, I'm going to eventually speed it up. I'm going to show you what I'm doing at the first part. This challenge is so incredibly easy, it just seems impossible to fail. All you've got to do is just whenever you see the guy spawn, shoot a couple of cross attacks, at least 2, maybe 3, to confirm that each of them get hit, because multiples will spawn at once. As you can see, what I'm doing is I'm just, going back and forth from left to right, left to right, left to right. Now, the trick with this is if you hit them with a cross attack, they will activate and go toward you, okay? So as long as you hit them with a cross attack, they'll go toward you. So this means that there should be never any point in time where you can get completely overwhelmed by these guys going toward the innocent people. That should theoretically never happen. So don't be afraid if one side starts spawning a little too many. Just start shooting cross attacks over there and then go back to the ones that are coming toward you to defeat them. Because like I said, once you attack them with cross attacks, they're coming right toward you. So they're giving up on the innocent guys. There you go. Free easy win. And I have heard people sometimes say like they might have trouble with that, but yeah, it's not that bad. I say people, but I mean like the internet I've seen around, so it's not too difficult. But anyway, next up is, of course, I think the no mana, and you gotta beat it in like a minute. Again, that's just for the bonus. You don't need to beat it in a minute. There's really no timed challenge, technically speaking. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is one of the ones where it actually gets interrupted, but I'm not sure. I think it is, because no magic is kind of just irritating, but it's not impossible. All you gotta do is just stay back, use cross attacks, and there you go. And then just know how to defeat, throne demons, which at this point in time, you've fought plenty of them to the point where it should be relatively easy to deal with. They don't really prove much in comparison to like Guardians. Now, granted, the pagans themselves, though, that's a different story. That's where things get kind of more annoying. But of course, I'm going to stick with the aerial attack move, and luckily there's only one of them that spawns. But yeah, something I brought up in the last episode, but I kind of want to continue it here, is if we ever did get a sequel, I would like to see more enemy types that kind of make it to where you have to think outside the box just a tad, like or have like specific enemy combinations that actually work off each other. I think that'd be kind of interesting to see, because you don't get that very often in this game, at least until you get to Heresy. It's incredible how one specific enemy type can actually really change the game. And that's the pagans. Making it to where you cannot use cross attacks on them, which completely blocks and protects most of, and pretty much all the fire enemies. It completely protects them. So it's just insane how that works. And I think that's a really cool combination of enemy type, but this game unfortunately didn't do it as much, but I appreciate all the little bits that it has, of course. Yeah, this is the one that pretty much just breaks down. This is like, what, challenge 5 or 6 or something at this point? There's 10 challenges in total. I think outside of this, there's like another arena type thing that you can do. Sorry. Where there's like 12, I believe, but I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually done anything outside of this. I'm probably thinking of Gates of Hell, but I think Gates of Hell is... Oh, man, I don't remember. Top of my brain, I'm thinking it's 20 different arenas, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Might even be more than that. It might be 100. I don't know. It's been so long since I've done it. I think you can save your game through it, but yeah, it's been a bit. Speaking of that, will there ever come a time when I might end up doing like the Challenge of the Gods for like say God of War and stuff? I would never say no to it. I've actually considered doing it, but that would be in the future when I get through most of the God of Wars I want to get through. At least the classic God of Wars. I'd say after I get done with the classic God of Wars, I might just start doing a lot of the arena stuff, just to knock them out of the way. For anybody that wants more God of War content from the classic generation, and then on top of that, people that do want, you know, my advice on how I beat them, which I have beaten all the challenges of all the games before. It's just, well, except for Ascension, because I think Ascension has multiplayer challenges, so I don't know. We won't be doing those. We won't be doing multiplayer ones, because I don't think anybody still plays that on multiplayer. It's been a while since I played it, so I don't remember. Anyway, next up is the losing health one. This one can be pretty much just changed to the point where you can essentially utilize Divine Armor to kind of get yourself through this if you're losing health too much. So Divine Armor helps out big time. And if you happen to have the upgrade for it, the one where like cross attacks give you health back, then you could use that to your advantage to kind of get health back too. And plus, you don't really lose a lot of health. But yeah, something I want to say real fast is level 6 for Holy or even Unholy is just quite a... It's quite a lot. So I wouldn't worry too much about getting to level 6 if you really don't want to. At least have level 5 to have all the upgrades that I would recommend having. They're not required, but this is one of those things where if you're following along my guide, it's one of those times where I would absolutely recommend going for. And also, at this point in the game, I'm pretty much done with upgrading. Once I hit level 5 for both Holy and Unholy, there's no reason to go for them besides just fancy kills, just because. So, and, you know, to carry over into, like, New Game Plus, so that way I can get, you know, whatever back. Which, granted, in New Game Plus, it's kind of hard just to... It takes a while to get up to level 7. The game really does take a while. Even with those little upgrades on that allow you to get, like, more points for your executions and stuff, or your absolutions and whatever. Especially even on Damned, like, it takes a good while. I think it's like, what, 50,000, maybe 100,000 for, like, the next one? I don't remember. But, yeah, this challenge, it seems like it's bad on paper, especially with the Seductresses, but as long as you just know the moves around them and you're capable of parrying them and then just doing, like, any cheese you want to do against them or just use cross attacks, then it kind of just defeats most of the difficulty. But that's, for the most part, kind of what we're here for, right? It's to kind of just make the game easier for people. Because telling people to only do, like, just combos and stuff and just hit them is just, for me personally, not enough of a guide. It's not really a good guide at that point. You know, I want people to win, so I kind of want to, you know, regardless of how you win, I really want to show people how you can do it. And for people that tell me, which this is, I'm not saying that, nobody does tell me this, I'm just saying that if there ever was a case where somebody had come up with the argument of, like, you know, you really shouldn't teach these people how to use cheeses and stuff because that kind of defeats the point of the game or whatever, then, like, making the game easier, even though it's supposed to be a challenging game, is dumb. I'll say this as a retort. Play Ninja Gaiden and then tell me if you want to go through that game as legit as you possibly can without using, within some macrum of, like, you know, any specific cheese or any specific thing that would really aid you in your combat, because if it's not fair here, it shouldn't be fair in Ninja Gaiden. And as we all know, Ninja Gaiden is a really difficult game, especially with 3 and those goddamn helicopters. So this fight right here, back to, you know, the action. My best advice is to just wait out one of them that's doing the spin attack. And unfortunately, since we have no block, we can't do the parry, which sucks, but it is what it is. The no block attribute does sound very painful, but I guarantee you, as long as you just wait them out and just keep jumping around until they eventually stop spinning, and then go for the other one and do like the aerial combo thing, then it should make the fight just a tad bit easier. Now, granted, you do also have magic, so if things get a little too hard, you can always just use magic. But honestly, the no block, they knew what they were doing with this one, because they added the hoarders, or whatever they're called, the spenders and the hoarders, which are like the most dangerous in terms, and the seductresses too. Like, these guys are like the most dangerous in terms of like blocking, because they know at this point in time that, you know, the players are really going to want to block their moves like all the time. But yeah, play Ninja Gaiden. Just, I'm not telling people that, you know, I'm not going back to that argument. I'm just saying in general, if you're looking for a fun hack and slash to play, I would recommend playing Ninja Gaiden. They're pretty good. Whichever version, you know, Sigma, Black, they don't matter. Just any of them. 1, 2, or 3, I don't care. Yaiba is not enough of a Ninja Gaiden game for me to consider it as one, but still. So, the single combo one, this one, I would also recommend equipping the combo keeper, just to make sure that you're okay with not losing out in a combo. And then, whenever things get a little too tight, don't try to go for anything too risky, like I did there. I wouldn't suggest going for parry attacks. Just try to stay away, use your cross attack to kind of just get through this. And whenever possible, when things get too hairy, just whip out the Divine Armor and go for that. Oh yeah, speaking of Ninja Gaiden, this is kind of just off topic, but I had a dream where I went to like a game store and I found, it was just like an undisclosed game store. I don't even know what it was. It's just some weird place. I usually have dreams like this. It's strange. So I go in there and there's like a ton of like 64 games and a ton of like Nintendo Entertainment games, NES games. And one of them was Ninja Gaiden, of course. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I kind of want this. And I also wanted some of the 64 games, but I don't actually have a 64 on me right now. Not yet, anyway. I want to get one at some point, because I really need one bad. My parents have one, but I don't have one. So, I got to use theirs if I want to play the 64 games. Which I do have 64 games. I only have like 3. Because they gave me the ones they didn't want, so. Which is South Park Rally, Chef's Love Shack, and Mario Kart. Alright, kill enemies. This one's straightforward. You just beat the shit out of everything you've been doing for like the past part of this game. The first spawn is just going to be, I think, the greed minions, so. Or no, I think they're just regular minions, maybe. Also, at this point, I have the upgrade for getting health for cross kills. So, this is when I actually get it. Right there, I was just doing was the jumping and holding block in air to make me fast fall. So, that's what that was. But yeah, during this dream, I also ended up finding Majora's Mask. And I showed my brother it because I was just impressed by how much it costs. And this is where dreams get kind of bizarre. For those that, of course, know Majora's Mask, you know, the Zelda game on 64, I don't know how rare it is in real life, but in my dream, apparently it was pretty damn real, considering the fact that it cost, like, I think $7 million for the goddamn thing. And I had to reread it, too, because in my head I was like, there's no way in shit that says $7 million fucking dollars. But then I saw the commas and everything, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, yep, that's it. Speaking of which, I don't know how true this is, but this is, of course, one of those things you read online, but I heard that people, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, so just bear with me. I don't believe most of this, but who knows. So you know how, like, with dreams, like, people kind of, like, tend to say, like, they have meaning behind them? I don't know if that's true. But sometimes you kind of want to believe it, sometimes you kind of don't. Who knows? I have no proof of that, so I'm not going to pretend like there is. However, I have heard that people say, like, if you can actually read numbers in your dream, then you're considered at least smart in some way, shape, or form. Which is funny because I don't consider myself very smart. So, what the hell is that supposed to mean then? I don't know. That was just something I read somewhere, and it just kind of stuck with me ever since. Which, speaking of sticking with me ever since, and speaking of dreams, I had one where I actually ended up in hell, and I had to go through a tournament to kind of, like, you know, go between, you know, the holy and unholy aspect of things, I guess. It literally was pretty much kind of like this in a sense, where whenever you do something nice, you know, your good bar goes up, and you do something bad, your bad bar goes up, and you get closer to going to hell. And then I eventually got to a point where I'm at like the final part of the tournament, I guess, and we gotta play this game where we race on, it's like some mascot platformer racing thing. I don't know what the fuck it was. Like, he's on kind of on a skateboard or a jet board, and then you have like 3 tries to get through this entire like lap, and I failed all 3 and just ended up in hell, and it was scary. I didn't get to see hell itself. I just know that basically where I was like, I guess, purgatory at that point. I don't know what it was, but it sucked. It was very uncomfortable, and I kind of feared for my life after that, especially when I woke up. I kind of was just considering that maybe I'm fucked up in the head at this point, and who knows. But yeah, dreams are quite scary. I have a lot of scary dreams. I think it's just because I go to... How do I put this? My interests kind of lie in stuff like this. I play a lot of these quote-unquote violent video games, and I watch a lot of violent stuff, and that's probably where all that comes from. You know, I kind of have an interest in horror. I don't watch horror movies, necessarily. I have an interest in horror in the way of, like, I think the monsters are cool, and I think the ideas are cool. I think the psychology of horror is cool. Kind of the reason why I enjoy the Cthulhu mythos type thing too, where it's just so horrifying on a psychological level that I think it's just more neat that way. But yeah, this is definitely an endurance test, no doubt about it. So you're pretty much, I think, fighting, for the most part, I believe, every enemy variety, and this, of course, is just a simple test of, like, you know, do you personally know how to beat these types of enemies? And realistically speaking, if you want to make it easier on yourself, cross attacks work wonders. Also, if you're going to be using Redemption Bar, I would recommend having equipped the Redemption Meter build relic, the one that helps you build up Redemption Meter faster, so that way you can have it for the final boss fight. You, at this point, fair warning to those that are on this specific part right here. If you've got all 3 bars of Redemption Meter, which I highly recommend having, it'll make your life a lot easier. If you have all 3 bars, and you don't have it full, you're going to want to get it full, at least in Fraud, as fast as you possibly can. Because this is your last shot to get it, because I think Treachery doesn't have enemies. I don't think it does. I don't remember exactly, but still. You want to make sure that you have full Redemption Meter by that point. You don't have to have full health upgrades or full mana upgrades. At least have one of each still available, just in case, you know, things go wrong, because it does get a little bit hairy. 2, if you have 2 health upgrades left and 2 magic upgrades left, you're perfect at that point. That's really damn good. But I didn't, so you don't have, you can do the same thing I did, or you don't have to. It's completely up to you on that one. But yeah, I would recommend having at least, especially magic. Having magic upgrade left over is important. Having all 3 redemption cells is important. I can't stress it enough. I really cannot stress it enough. I might not bring it up in the next video. I might. I don't know. I tend to be a broken record and repeat myself on things. But make sure you have what you need, because I'm not playing around when I say that fight could potentially destroy you. It destroyed me. And I don't know anybody's skill level, of course. I'm just saying that from my point of view, I think it's damn hard. I think it's really incredibly hard. I think it's one of the hardest final bosses I've ever faced. I don't know if it probably is the hardest that I've ever faced, and I wouldn't say that Dante's Inferno is necessarily the hardest game I've ever played, but goddamn is it up there. Yeah, I'd say it's up there, but I think most of the getting to the final boss is easy. It's the final boss itself that really jumps it up like a couple of points. So, but we'll talk about that when we get to the next video, of course, when I explain my thoughts on Dante's Inferno as a whole. So yeah, pretty much endurance test is it's just long and arduous, annoying even, I would say, because you're just going through wave after wave after wave. And I think this guy might be either the second to last fight or the last fight. It's one of the two. I don't know. But he goes on for so damn long. It's just, I hate these guys. But I think this is the last time I get to see one of them, so... Yeah, you don't really fight them that much, honestly. Which is fine, because I'd rather not. Now, granted, I could have sworn that a pagan spawns to make him impossible to hit. That you have to be focused on the pagan. Maybe I'm thinking of earlier. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, I thought I died. I thought I died. So yeah, there's my last health upgrade I bought. So instead of buying mana, I bought health. As you can see, I'm pretty much just saving all the mana upgrades for the final boss. I might have one. I have one left over, maybe two. I didn't catch it, and I have to go back and find out. But, or at least I'll find out in the final boss, because I'm pretty damn sure that, you know, that will definitely tell me right then and there. So yeah, pretty much for this asshole, I just use cross attacks. Every once in a while, I hit him with scythes. It's nothing special. I just kind of... Yeah, this is the last fight, isn't it? And there was no pagan either. Just treat him like you do a normal bone demon, and you should be okay. Keep your distance, you know, hit him with cross attacks. Burn him out. Cool him off. What have you. Which I think is actually pretty damn dope. I'm not going to lie. I think this game just kicks so much ass. It's got so much cool stuff to it. Incredibly underrated, and definitely deserves another chance for people to like it. Yeah, it may be a little bit shorter than some games. It's like God of War 1 length. I'd say it's about a fair God of War 1, God of War 3 length. I think God of War 3 is a bit longer than 1. It's been a while since I played God of War 3, so we'll get there. We'll get there. I'd say I'll probably start up doing more stuff after my little bit of a break I'm going to take. But that's after the next couple of guides, though, so don't worry. My plan for right now is... possibly do my Splatterhouse one next, and then God of War Chains of Olympus, and then take a break, and then come back with like Wolverine, Deadpool, and stuff, and who knows what else. So, but yeah, that's gonna be the end of this episode. I'm gonna punish this guy, and I'll see you guys for Treachery, the Last Circle. As always, take care, everybody.